What is up, Starseeds? It's Sid, and tonight we are going to be talking about remembering our roots and how we have lost our sense of tradition, how things have gotten so vastly different from one generation to the next, the last few generations. So this is kind of a follow-up to my last video on how you have to unlearn to learn, deprogramming the norm, and just if you were just thrown on this planet, how you would do things differently and how it's important to not do things just because other people do them. So this video, we're going to be talking about like how the norm has gotten to the norm. Not exactly the history of it, but just we're taking a moment to think and really realize and understand how vastly different everything is. Because if you think about it, and from a mom's perspective, there's a lot of examples, but there's tons of examples in literally every area of life. If you think about technology, that's a huge one. But if you think about the food industry, the clothing industry, just the work, the whole society system in general, like workers, and just how every single business is different. If you think about how we get, like I said, the food industry, but then again, how we get the food, how we make the food, we're using bioengineered food ingredients in our food now. We did not used to have that. The food on the shelves at the supermarket are totally different than what they used to be. I mean, not all of them, because you still have your staple stuff like lettuce and that sort of thing, but you have these processed foods, and like I said, that's a whole area in and of itself. But if you think about it from a mom's perspective, diapers, there's disposable diapers now that you throw away, and they sit in a landfill for 500 years or however many, which it's like diapers haven't been around for 500 years. So how do we come up with this number of it's going to take 500 years for them to decompose? Like we haven't reached that number yet. Like someone needs to keep an eye on a diaper and see how long it actually takes. But we used cloth diapers back in the day. That's what I still use. But those are new and improved. We're not using clothespins. We've got button pocket diapers for cloth diapers, and it's great. So those are like positive advancements. But some other things I don't know, some people might see as positive and I see as neutral, but I just don't particularly like some things. So maybe I see them as negative, whatever you want to say. But there's just so many things that are different. And formula for babies, I understand. It's amazing for some women who can't breastfeed because, like I said in my mastitis video, I was almost one of those moms, but somehow I got through it, and I was a mom who breastfed for over 2 years. So, some things can go two very different ways. But like I said, I'm always going to be a breast is best mom. I understand some women like to use formula, but it's like that option wasn't available the same way it is now. Trust me, I understand that some women had to improvise and kind of make a formula, but there was not formula on the shelves. It was not the norm because our body already does that, It usually does that. So there's tons of things. In the medical field, if you think about that, so many advancements, so many great advancements. But then again, it's like there was other natural remedies. When you think of things like surgery, that's some miracles being worked now with the stuff that we can do now that we couldn't do back in the day. But if you think about just having a cold, then they give you, like some steroid or something, or they always go to antibiotics or antivirals when there's a little something. And it's like, if you just took this herb instead, you would probably be better and you wouldn't need those pills. So it's, I see pros and cons to these advancements, and I feel like we're not really advancing in a positive way sometimes, and it's just getting us farther away from our roots. And yes, I believe in expansion and growth, and positive advancements, but I think we really need to check ourselves and say, what are we doing with all of this AI and all of this crazy shit that we have now? We don't need a lot of it. We don't need most of it. Sure, some stuff is cool. We can keep some stuff. But I don't know, I strive to live in a community where I don't want to say we go back to our roots, but we appreciate them, because you can't, like a tree can't grow to heaven unless its roots touch down to hell. And I think that's a bad example, maybe, but it's also a great example at the same time. Like, we have to have our roots in so we can grow up as well. That's what I take from that saying. And I don't know who quoted that, but I've always loved that saying. So, we need to appreciate the positive things that we have done in the past, okay? We don't just have to forget everything from the past and move on. It's good to keep the stuff that we know is good and just keep expanding on that. Like, there are people who live on islands, who live in the jungle, who live in these native communities and all of these places all around the world where they only consume that plant and then like the, type of fish that swims really by to their hometown and water. But they go on this diet of just this one plant and they connect with the spirit of that plant, so they know like everything about that plant and they know the benefits, they know what it does for you. I think that is so interesting, so amazing. I truly believe that Earth, Terra, Mother Gaia, whatever you want to call her, she provides, this planet provides so much that we need. She provides everything we need. And so do we. We ourselves provide everything that we need. We can be self-sufficient. We don't need to rely on the government and these big corporations that much. That is the root cause. That is the root cause of all of these advancements, okay? It's the few rich families, the rich bloodlines, it's the government, it's the big corporations, it's the big oil, it's the big banking systems, it's the people that own big oil and big banking systems and big pharma and big technology brands and all of the big things the same people own. Who are these people? They are the root cause of all of these advancements because they own all of the big corporations in all of these fields. If you want an eco product, they own the product that's greenwashing. If you want the mainstream, they own that too. It's like, it's crazy. But there's just so much that has changed. And if you think about going back to like a main topic, which is religion, how many people call themselves Christian who are watching this? Or how many people do you know call themselves Christians, but then don't go to church? How many people do you know that call themselves a Muslim, but they don't pray towards Mecca 5 times a day, like a Muslim, I believe, is supposed to? There's so many people who were born into these religions, but don't even practice it anymore. And it's just because this cultural programming, that's what's changed. We have turned into a workaholic society, so we don't spend time with our families like we used to, like our grandparents used to. We don't all have a farm like most of our grandparents used to. We don't even have a farm close enough to our house to go get food from a farmer's market. We go to a grocery store, a lot of us. And that is just really freaking sad that somehow these rich families have made it the norm for us to go to school. We go to school so they can train us to be workers, so then we can work for them for all of our lives, literally just so they can stay up at the top and so we can stay in our place. And it's sickening. Mannerisms and how we talk to people has changed so much too. Like, how did we go from, one, knowing everyone in our town and feeling comfortable talking to strangers and going to people's house and being like, hi, can I have a cup of sugar? And now it's like we don't even say hi to our neighbors when we see them outside. Some of them, I get some neighbors we do, some neighbors we don't. But it's like on my one side, it's like we usually say hi unless we're just like not in the mood and we can talk for 20 minutes if we want to. But then the other side, it's like we just kind of pretend that we don't exist. We have nothing against each other. It's just like we're living our own lives. We're busy people and we just kind of like politely might say hi once in a while, but it's like we don't really communicate, don't know much about them. They live over there, we live over here, and that's it. It's like how did we go from everyone trading goods to then trading like this paper that's made out of trees with these like dead old white guys' faces on them. Like what? What? How did this happen in such a short amount of time? I simply do not comprehend how everyone just went along with this. How do people go along with religion? And then how the heck do people go along with the government? Those are just, in my opinion, the two, and then the big corporations. Okay, those are the top three biggest freaking scams in the whole world is religion, the government, and big corporations. And then guess what, honey? They're kind of all the three same things. So they just have different names, different faces. It's all the same thing. It's wild. It's nuts out here. This is really, when aliens fly by, this is really the hood. This is really the ghetto planet right now. It's not even the ghetto planet. It's just like the weird, what the heck are you giving your power to planet? Like, we need to stop, okay? This is why self-sufficiency is so important. So much has changed, and we need to start talking to people again. When did everyone become depressed and anxiety ridden? Like, literally everyone has depression and anxiety now, and depression is focusing on the past, anxiety is focusing on the future. Obviously, I tend to focus on both quite a bit, but I know at the end of the day that focusing on the present is what, grounds you and what brings you bliss. And that's what I focus on the most. So that's why I'm not depressed or anxious anymore. I'm really not. Like, there is definitely a balance that you can do where it's like, I'm a very reminiscent person. I really am. And I am a very, like, planning person. I'm always thinking about the future. I'm always thinking about the past. But it's like, I'm always thinking about the present way more, and that overpowers that, because I guess I'm an overthinker, you could say. I definitely am, but we need to start talking to people. We need to stop being scared to talk to people. And when I'm the happiest is when I'm like usually the most social, and especially when I have like a little spiritual thing I want to say to somebody, like a stranger. It gets me all giddy because I'm like, oh my gosh, do I say this to them? And then I'm like, I might never see them again, and I gotta tell them this message. So I just do, usually. We gotta stop being scared to plant seeds for people. But it's like we're losing the roots. We're losing our tradition, and we don't need to go back to that, but we need to change what is currently going on because it's not working. And I don't want to go back to the old ways of life, because I feel like when you say that, people think of like regression and that we're regressing as a society. But it's like, no, we just need to change things. And if you want to forget about the past, fine. But then when we rebuild a society, like, we're going to implement things that we did in the past, because some of those things are just what every civilization does. You know what I'm saying? If we wipe a clean slate and we start fresh, we will incorporate some of the basic things that we do. We can change our ways. We can make circle, organically shaped homes. We can use 3D printers. We can have some of this new technology if we want, in this like new community, new society, new way of life. We can implement these things. We can implement these natural remedies. We can have the same surgical technology, but then we can use the natural remedies for like quick fixes for things that are not so serious and that we don't need to take an organ out surgically to do. You know what I'm saying? So I guess what I wanted to say is we need to appreciate our roots. If you don't want to go back to the old ways of life, fine, don't think about it. Think about starting fresh. And you're just going to have to think about, what do we need to survive, and implement those things. And some might just so happen to be what our ancestors did. I feel like some traditions and some rituals are very nice to keep in place, especially when like connecting to our star family and our ancestors. And I don't want to put all of this power into our ancestors' hands, because who were our ancestors? Were they good people or not? That depends on the person and the ancestors, right? But when we do like family constellation work, soul constellation work, and just in our DNA and going through the dark night of the soul, going through, bodily work, DNA work, ancestor work, and just seeing what traumas we have in our family line and whatnot. We don't need to put our ancestors on a pedestal, because at the end of the day, we're all one, but those are also individual souls who might have selfish interests. Like, even though they're your ancestor, they might not be that great. They also might be you reincarnated. So it totally depends on the person and the ancestor, like I said, but we need to have common sense. We need to have discernment. We need to trust our current soul's higher self for the good of the all. So I know we talked about a lot of different side topics that all intertwine in this video, but that is what I wanted to say. Like, things are different. Realize that the current society, this school, and the 9-to-5 job that most people are expected to do, and get a spouse and have kids, it's not for everyone. The whole college thing is a whole nother subject. That's definitely not for everyone. So just do what you think feels right for you, and you can choose some decisions every day. I saw this video of a little girl crying about how she didn't want to eat meat because she doesn't want to eat animals, but then how she likes like bacon, for example. And her mom said the most amazing thing. She said, do it on a daily basis. If you can tell us if today you're okay eating chicken or if you're not, like, we will never make you eat an animal, but it's, if you want to, when we have that meal, you can, and if you don't, you can eat fruits and vegetables instead. Like, we'll figure it out. So just do that with everything in life. Just figure it out if you can handle meat that day or not. That's what I do. I do it on a daily basis. I can either eat the chicken today or I can't, and I'll eat beans instead. But do things on a day-to-day basis with everything in life, and just, like I said, appreciate the roots, appreciate the positive traditions, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, okay? Because it's good to get back to a sense of remembering our roots, but the positive roots, okay? We can leave the negative roots in the past. I guess this is what this video is about. And realize that because things have changed so drastically in the last few generations, that we can change them drastically in this generation too. And we have the power. It is in our hands. We can overthrow the government. Peace out.